What if I told you the moment you start explaining yourself is the exact moment you lose control? Think about that. Not when you're wrong, not when they attack you, not even when they misunderstand you, but the second you open your mouth to defend, that's when the power slips out of your hands. Picture this. You're sitting at a dinner table, someone throws a subtle jab your way, or maybe you're in a meeting and someone questions your competence. Or worse, someone close to you twists your words into something you never meant. And suddenly, you feel it, that heat rising in your chest, your heart rate climbing, your mind racing to fix it, to correct it, to prove them wrong. So you jump in, you explain, you justify, you clarify every detail. And in that exact moment, you've already lost. Because people don't judge you based on how right you are. They judge you based on how desperate you sound. The one who explains looks like they need approval. The one who defends looks like they accept being judged. And the moment you accept that role, you step beneath them. Before we go deeper, if you're someone who wants to understand power, psychology, and the hidden rules most people never see, hit subscribe now, because what you're about to learn will completely change how people see you. Now listen carefully. Power is never about truth. It's about who controls the frame. And the second you defend yourself, you step into their frame. You become the one being questioned, the one being evaluated. You become the defendant in a courtroom they created. But what if you refused to enter that courtroom? What if, instead of reacting the way everyone expects, you did something completely different? Something that makes manipulators uncomfortable. Most people go through life like emotional puppets. Someone frowns, they apologize. Someone criticizes, they explain. Someone misunderstands, they chase clarity. They are always reacting, always trying to prove they are good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. And it drains them, slowly, silently, completely. But there's another way, a way where you are so grounded, so internally stable, that insults don't even land. They don't bounce off you. They disappear before they even touch you. This isn't about being cold. It's not about arrogance. It's about shifting where your reality comes from. Not from others, but from yourself. Today, you're going to understand the psychology of not defending yourself, why your brain forces you to react, and how to break that pattern. How to flip power instantly, without raising your voice, and how silence can become your strongest weapon. But I need to warn you, this will require you to let go of something you've been holding on to your entire life. The need to be understood, the need to be approved, the need to be seen as right. If you can let that go, you become untouchable. Now ask yourself this. Why do you feel the urge to explain yourself? Why? When someone challenges you, does your mind instantly jump to defend? It started when you were a child. Think back. When a parent or teacher accused you, what did you do? You explained. You tried to prove your innocence. I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. He started it. Because back then, explaining meant safety. Convincing authority meant survival. And your brain learned something dangerous, that your worth depends on someone else's judgment. But here's the problem. You grew up. That pattern didn't. Now you walk through life, treating everyone like an authority figure. Your boss, your partner, even strangers online. And every time you defend yourself, you're saying something deeper than words. You are the judge, and I need your approval. and people feel that instantly. That's why the more you explain, the less powerful you appear, because power doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being stable. Even when you're misunderstood. Think about it. A king doesn't explain himself to everyone. A lion doesn't justify its actions. But the moment you start over-explaining, giving reasons, bringing evidence, you reveal something dangerous, that your identity depends on their agreement. And once someone sees that, they know exactly where to press. This is the trap. You think if you explain clearly enough, they'll finally understand. But most of the time, they don't want to understand. They want to see if you'll react. And you do. Every time. So here's the first shift. There is no courtroom, no judge, no jury. Just you and your perception. The moment you stop treating people like they have authority over your identity, their words lose power. They stop sounding like truth and start sounding like noise. Now imagine this. Someone looks at you and says, "You're selfish." The old you reacts instantly. "No, I'm not. I did this, this, and this." You defend. You explain. You try to fix it. But now imagine something different. They say, "You're selfish." And you just look at them. No reaction, no explanation, just silence. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. That silence, it creates pressure. Because the human brain hates silence in conflict. It forces them to sit in what they just said. And something strange happens. They start talking again. They soften. I mean, not always. Just right now. They begin adjusting themselves because you didn't. Without saying a word, you flipped the power. That's the beginning of real control. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Silence alone is powerful. But when you understand why it works, you stop using it as a trick and start living it as a mindset. Because what's really happening in that moment isn't just silence, it's control. When someone attacks you, they are expecting resistance. They're expecting you to react, to defend, to push back. Why? Because that's the game everyone plays. Attack, defend, argue, escalate. But the moment you refuse to play your role, the entire structure collapses. It's like someone throwing a punch, and you're not even there to receive it. They don't hit you. They lose balance. This is what most people don't understand. Conflict is a dance, and it requires 2 participants, the attacker and the reactor. The second you stop reacting, they are left dancing alone, and that makes them uncomfortable, because now all the attention shifts back to them. Now let's go deeper. Why does silence make people uncomfortable? Because silence creates a psychological vacuum, and the human mind hates empty space. When there's tension and no response, the brain rushes to fill it. That's why in conversations, the person who speaks second often has more power, because they are not reacting, they are choosing. So when someone throws an accusation at you, and you respond with nothing, you are forcing them to sit inside their own words. And most people can't handle that. They start second-guessing themselves. They start softening their tone. They start explaining their own statement. Think about how powerful that is. They came to challenge you, and now they're defending themselves. That's a complete reversal, and you didn't even say a word. But silence is just one layer. 'Cause sometimes you have to speak, and when you do, you never defend. You redirect. This is where most people fail. They think if they don't stay silent, they have to argue. But there's a third option, and it's far more dangerous. Instead of pushing against the attack, you pull it You lean into it. You exaggerate it. You make it absurd. This creates something called mental confusion, because now the attacker doesn't know how to respond. For example, someone says, "You're so obsessed with money. You're greedy." The average person reacts immediately. "No, I'm not. I just want to take care of my future." Predictable, weak, expected. But now imagine this. You look at them calm, almost amused, and you say, "You caught me. I actually swim in gold coins every night before bed." And you stop. No explanation, no defense, just a slight smirk, or even a completely neutral face. Now what just happened? You didn't accept the insult. You didn't reject it either. You played with it. You turned their serious attack into something ridiculous. And that does something very important. It removes emotional weight from the situation, because insults only work when you treat them seriously. The moment you stop doing that, they lose their power. This is what we call amused control. You're not angry. You're not defensive. You're above it. Like an adult watching a child throw a tantrum. You don't argue with the child. You don't try to prove your point. You observe. You stay calm. And that calmness becomes your authority. Because here's the truth. The person who gets emotional first loses every time. Now let's go even deeper. When you defend yourself, you reveal something. You reveal what matters to you. You reveal your insecurities. You reveal your weak points. For example, if someone says, "You're not smart," and you instantly react, "No, I am. I did this, I studied that." What did you just show? That intelligence is something you're insecure about. Now they know where to press next time. Same thing if someone questions your character, your success, your value. Every time you defend, you expose a button. And once someone knows your buttons, they can control your reactions. But silence reveals nothing. It's like a wall with no cracks, or even better, a mirror. Because when someone attacks you, and you give them nothing back, they're forced to face themselves, their tone, their aggression, their intention, and most people don't like what they see. So they pull back, they soften, they adjust, not because you argued, but because you didn't. Now here's another powerful shift. If you do speak, don't talk about yourself. Talk about them. This is where the real power lies. Instead of answering their accusation, you question their intention. They say, "Why are you always late?" The average response, "Traffic was bad. I was busy." You're explaining. You're losing. But instead, you say something like, "Why does my timing bother you this much?" Now look at what happened. The focus is no longer on your behavior. It's on their reaction. Now they have to explain themselves. Now they are the ones being analyzed. And that creates pressure. Because people don't like being exposed. They like being in control. But the moment you shift the spotlight onto them, they lose that control. And you gain it. This is how you break patterns. This is how you stop being predictable. Because predictable people are easy to control. But when your responses are unexpected, calm, detached, slightly playful, people don't know how to deal with you, and that uncertainty becomes your power. But there's still something deeper we need to uncover, because none of this works if internally you still feel the need to be validated. And that's what we're going to break in the next part. Now here's the part most people avoid, because everything you've learned so far won't work if you don't fix what's happening inside you. You can stay silent. You can say the right lines. You can act calm on the surface, but if inside you still feel the need to be understood, it will leak. People will feel it, in your voice, in your eyes, in your energy. And the moment they feel that, your power disappears. Because this isn't just about what you say, it's about who you are underneath. So let's go deeper. Why does it hurt when someone attacks you? Why do certain words trigger you while others don't? Simple. Because they're touching something that already exists inside you. Think about it. If someone told you, you have green skin, would you defend yourself? No, you'd laugh, because there's zero doubt in your mind. But if someone calls you a failure, and you feel the urge to explain, that reaction is coming from somewhere real, a part of you that isn't fully certain, a part of you that's still seeking validation. And that's the real battlefield. Not the conversation, not the other person. You. Because the strongest defense is not a technique. It's self-acceptance. When you truly know who you are, no one else's opinion can shake you. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're grounded. You've already faced your own flaws. You've already accepted your own imperfections. So when someone tries to use them against you, there's nothing left to expose. That's what makes someone untouchable. Let's make this real. Someone says, you're selfish. If you secretly fear that might be true, you'll react. You'll explain. You'll try to prove them wrong. But if you've already accepted that, yes, sometimes you can be selfish, then their words don't hit the same. You can calmly say, sometimes, yeah, and move on. No emotion, no defense, no need to fix anything. That's power, because you're not running from your flaws. You've already owned them, and when you own something, no one can use it against you. This is what most people never do. They spend their lives trying to appear perfect, trying to hide their weaknesses, trying to control how others see them, and that creates fear. Because now, you have something to protect. But the moment you stop hiding, the moment you accept every part of yourself, that fear disappears, and with it, the need to defend. Now let's go even deeper. Every conflict has a hidden structure, a role being assigned. There's always someone acting as the judge, and someone acting as the one being judged. The judge asks questions. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Who do you think you are? And the other person answers, explains, defends. And the moment you start answering, you've accepted the lower position. You've stepped into the role they gave you. But here's the shift. You don't have to accept that role. You can change it instantly. How? By refusing to answer, and instead observing them. They say, "Why are you always like this?" Instead of explaining, you say, "What makes you see it that way?" Now everything changes. Now they're the one explaining. Now they're the one under pressure. Now they're the one being analyzed. And you're no longer reacting. You're observing. This is uncomfortable for most people because they're not used to it. They expect you to defend. They expect you to explain. But when you don't, they feel exposed. And exposure creates discomfort. That's why this works so well. You're not attacking them. You're not arguing. You're simply not playing the role they expected. And that breaks their control. Now here's another powerful move. Sometimes the strongest response is agreement. But not the kind of agreement you're used to. Not submission, not weakness. Strategic agreement. Imagine someone is attacking you, listing your flaws, trying to provoke you, and instead of reacting, you look at them and say calmly, you're right. And then silence. No explanation, no follow-up, just acceptance. Now think about what happens. They were expecting resistance. They were expecting a fight. But you gave them nothing to push against. It's like they're trying to knock down a wall. And suddenly the wall disappears. They fall forward. They lose balance because conflict needs resistance, and you removed it. But here's the key. You only agree with the truth, not the insult. For example, you messed up this report. You're incompetent. Wrong response. I'm not incompetent. That's emotional, weak, reactive, powerful response. You're right. The report has mistakes. I'll fix it. And stop. You ignored the insult. You addressed the fact. That's control. Because now you look calm, grounded, unbothered. And they look emotional, overreactive, unstable. And in any interaction, the calm person holds the power. But remember this, none of this works if it's just a technique. If your voice shakes, if your eyes avoid contact, if your energy says, please accept me. People will feel it instantly because communication is not just words. It's presence, it's energy, it's certainty. So if you want to master this, you don't just change how you speak. You change how you see yourself. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing approval. You stop trying to control how others perceive you. And when that happens, something powerful shifts. You stop reacting. You start choosing. And people notice that. They feel it, even if they don't understand it. But there's one final piece that brings everything together. And it's something you need to experience for yourself, not just understand, because knowledge without action changes nothing. Now it all comes down to this. You don't learn this by understanding it. You learn it by living it. Because in the moment, when someone challenges you, when the pressure hits, when your chest tightens and your mind starts racing, that's when the real test begins. Not here, not while listening, but out there, in real interactions. So here's what you're going to do. For the next 7 days, you're going to run an experiment, a simple rule, no defense. No matter what happens, you do not explain yourself. No matter how small the situation feels, you don't justify. You don't overtalk. You don't try to fix how you're being perceived. You just stop. If you're late, you say, I'm late, and nothing more. No story, no excuse. If you make a mistake, you say, that's on me, and you move on. If someone misunderstands you, you let them sit in that discomfort, feel it, that urge inside you, the one that keeps pushing you to explain, to correct, to prove yourself. Watch it, but don't act on it. Let it burn, because that urge, that's the old version of you. The version that needs approval. The version that feels unsafe being misunderstood. And the only way to break it is to stop feeding it. At first, it will feel wrong. It will feel like you're losing control. Like people will think badly of you. Like you need to say something, anything, but stay still, because something powerful is happening beneath the surface. You're reclaiming your energy. Every explanation you used to give was energy leaving you. Every justification was you handing over control. Now you're keeping it, and people will notice. At first, they'll be confused. They'll push a little harder. They'll try to provoke a reaction because they're used to the old version of you, the predictable one. But when the reaction doesn't come, something shifts. They slow down, they soften, they start choosing their words more carefully around you. And then, something even more interesting happens. Respect Not the kind that comes from pleasing people, but the kind that comes from presence, from certainty, from someone who doesn't need to explain their existence. Because here's the truth. People are drawn to certainty. They trust it. They follow it. And nothing signals certainty more than a person who is completely okay being misunderstood, because that person is not controlled by perception. They are grounded in themselves, and that creates something rare, something magnetic. Now let's take it one step further. When you stop defending yourself, you also stop trying to control how others feel about you. You stop trying to manage their emotions. Their anger becomes theirs. Their disappointment becomes theirs. Their judgment stays with them, not with you. And that's freedom. Because most people walk through life carrying emotions that don't even belong to them, trying to fix how others feel, trying to keep everyone comfortable, trying to be liked, and in doing that, they lose themselves, but not you, not anymore. You let people feel whatever they want. You let them misunderstand. You let them judge, and you stay the same, calm, still, unmoved. That's power. Now imagine living like that. Imagine walking into any room and knowing that no one's opinion has the ability to shake you. No need to impress, no need to prove, no need to defend. Just presence, just control, just quiet confidence. That's what this is really about. Not silence, not techniques, identity. You're no longer the person who reacts. You're the one who observes, the one who chooses, the one who cannot be easily moved. And once you become that, everything changes. Your conversations, your relationships, the way people treat you. Because people don't respect what you say. They respect what you tolerate and what you refuse to react to. So now, the choice is yours. You can go back to explaining, back to defending, back to chasing approval, or you can step into something different, something stronger, something rare. For the next 7 days, play the game, no defense, and watch what happens. Watch how people react. Watch how you feel. Watch how your entire presence begins to shift. And when you start seeing the difference, you won't go back. Now I want to hear from you. What's one situation where you usually feel the need to explain yourself? Drop it in the comments. And if this changed the way you see yourself even a little, share this with someone who needs it. Because most people are still trapped in that cycle, and they don't even know it. And if you're ready to stop being reactive, to stop being controlled, to start moving with real power, then stay close. Because this is just the beginning.